Hello everybody. Now that we're done with the first section of our course, I want to take some time to introduce section number 2. I also want to go over a couple of things from our Canvas course and our assignments. First, we finished our first set of challenge problems. You guys have submitted that, uploaded through PDF, and now you're responding. Some of you have responded already. So I just want to make sure, again, that you're clear on that process. We'll find that here. Here's that first set of challenge problems. Again, people have already responded, but not everyone has. So you're going to respond and you want to address at least one of these prompts. 50 words or less to kind of keep us in some ballpark where you're putting some time into it. You may do prompt 1, 2, 3, or 4, or a combination of them. But again, keep in mind we're trying to support each other through this process. The questions may not be clear. I'll be posting solutions to that tomorrow, the day after. I post them the day after everyone has responded. And so you post and then you have one day to respond with that. Additionally, before you do these challenge problems, I do recommend that you do the practice problems first, the online homework. That should probably be done first. That's where you get your extra practice. And for me, the challenge problems are for you to kind of almost self-test, to do a quiz to see what you know. And then you do that, of course, after you've done the videos, the lecture videos, or you've looked at the videos within the problem assignments. Next, I want to make sure again you are aware our first quiz is due tomorrow. That's a sampling lab. You are addressing these, and again, you can type right into this assignment when you submit it, or you can type it into a PDF, or down the document upload as a PDF. Either way is fine on this assignment because it's asking you to describe these processes. And so that's quiz number 1. And so now we'll move on to section 2. Section 2, we're going to look at graphical representations, and I want to start with one. I went through your TED Talk, and a lot of you were interested in COVID-19 material. So graphical representations are important in this section, along with what we call our measures of center and measures of spread. First, let's look at some graphical representations. This is California. And again, not to put any opinion or critiques or what's going on, I just want to show you the graphs. You can see this is a website you can go to where you'll see these graphical representations for COVID-19. This is California, so take a look at California right there. Looking at California, you can see our positive rates are increasing. They're at the highest they've ever been. So you will see that the dark mark is what we call the 7-day rolling average, meaning it takes the average of the last 7 days. So you get a better sense so that you don't have these individual spikes. Like we had a spike yesterday on the 18th, 4,000 new positive cases. The deaths have kind of leveled off per day, right? You have total amount of deaths, but these are leveling off. And again, you can click other states. So for example, there's some hot spots now going on in the country. Here is Arizona, you can see. And so when you hear those terms, flattening the curves, spikes, you can see there's some flattening of the curves on deaths here, but not on positive cases. This is Arizona here. But again, you see the different types of graphs. You also see other representations, these bar graphs. And these are a little bit more fancier representations of what we're going to be using. But you can go ahead and check to see. And again, I'm looking for these other states here. This is Florida. Again, you see these large spikes. Texas is another one with that. But this is what we're looking at in this section, graphical representations. I want to show you a couple other ones from a website called Flowing Data. And again, looking at the data, I also want you to think about in this section about samples versus populations. Do we have the data for the entire population, or do we have it for samples, right? And so then that determines, again, because what we're doing in this class is using data to make estimates or predictions about the population. That's what a sample does. I thought this was cool, how we spend our money, and it breaks it down by housing, transportation, entertainment, in different sections. This is for the lowest income people, the lowest 20%. And again, we'll talk more about that as we go on about these different, what we call these different categories, or these are called quintiles by groups of 5s, right? And this is from 2013, and they'll have some updated, but still get a sense of how people, if you go to the highest, how money spent, you'll see these interesting representations, and each of these is I'm probably, this is not from everyone. These are probably sample data if we look at it somewhere from a survey. And so these would be estimates for the population. Doesn't mean everyone spends that much. So if you're in the lowest 20 percentile, on average, right, you're spending $1,200 a year on gas and so forth. Healthcare, $1,000. Other types of things, food away, eating out, 1,000. Compare that to the highest 20 percentile. Again, these are fancy, right? These are fancy. Eating out is 5,000. So you'll see there is a difference in your income level, what you spend it on, where your money goes, savings, insurance, and pensions, right? Things like that. Of course, if you don't make the money, you can't put away. And you'll see how each of these groups change. I thought it was interesting. Lower income people spend more money on housing. Look, that's the bigger group compared to highest income people. Their housing gets smaller. Interesting data. Some more stuff. Again, looking at how we, just these graphical representations, how do you spend your time? And this was before the pandemic. You can see, if you're a female, 18 to 24, you can see, show you the hours spent on a weekday versus the weekend. You can break this. And this is sample data, of course, because you have not everyone was interviewed or surveyed to get this data, but you can see how much time is spent sleeping, personal care, and so forth. And these are median values. That means some people spend more time, some people spend less time. Whether you're employed, unemployed, you sleep more if you're unemployed for whatever reason. But you have this, again, thinking about all these different types of variables. These are awesome graphs for you to kind of play with and think about this what we call multi-variable thinking and how things change. Leisure time, right? Unemployed, let's see, versus employed, right? You have less leisure time. You travel, commute, probably employed is more than unemployed. Yep, you can see these numbers, but they're using median values in this case. Let's take a look. I thought this one was kind of interesting just because I'm getting older. A male who's 24, you can look at an estimate, right? An estimate of how many more years you're going to live, right? And so you can see how this distribution of probabilities, 0 to 9, 10. And so if you're a 24-year-old male, there's a 70% chance here approximately that you're going to live 50 more years. So you're going to get to 74. 50 or more years, right? 40 or to 50 years. And so that was kind of interesting. It might be morbid to you, but it's interesting. It just has you draw more. It forces you to ask more questions. And that's what statistics is. Again, it's really us to ask more questions, collect data, and then determine what is it talking to us about? What is it telling us about ourselves? I thought this was interesting. It reminds me of the thought experiment of would our lives be better if we knew when our expiration date was coming. I thought that's an interesting thought experiment. How would you live your life if you knew when you were going to die? I thought that was an interesting discussion to be had with that. But I'm going to leave that there. But that's what we have and what we're looking forward to in section 2.